When was I yelling at my chat, Zero? Oh, okay. No, I'm not redoing it. That would be silly and kind of pointless. We are doing the alternate one, though.
Iggy! Gladio!
Come now, why not follow your liege's lead and stop resisting?
Never!
You risked life and limb to safeguard the King of Kings, only to witness him fail so spectacularly. You must be so disappointed.
Unhand him!
I know I am. Oh, what good is a world that only ever lets you down? Why not end it all right here?
No. You can't. Nacht!
My, you two certainly had begun fast, friends. Permit me to make a suggestion. Rather than follow this flotsam and float away to a watery grave, why not come with me? What do you say?
So if it doesn't crash this time.
Where are we?
Oh, you have to ask? Why, Zignotus Keep, of course. Otherwise known as the current residence of your precious crystal. Have I piqued your curiosity? You must have so many questions. Seek the answers yourself, if you dare.
If his word is good, then he's brought me to Gralia. The question is why? What's his game?
Blessed was the man born for the throne, yet he, so impure of heart, was denied by the stone and cast into ignominy. Feeding on the dusk and embracing the darkness, he spurned the dawn, affecting a life untouched by time. And through the coming of night eternal, he now seeks to exact vengeance upon his own blood.
Vengeance upon his own blood. Is that why he's after Noct?
The stone, chrysalis to the soul of our star, cradle to the king, destined to serve as vessel of its light. Gods and men alike awaited the coming of the chosen, as they fought to fend off darkness blight. For he and he alone would possess the power to purge our star of its scourge.
Noct really must be the chosen king after all.
Nice music for this section, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds like the lawn person has moved away from being directly outside my door. I've had myself muted for the last several minutes for a reason. So now I can talk, kind of. It's still kind of loud, but whatever. He's moving away, I think. So plus to gameplay. Obvious. Boop. Oh, I'll explain what the crystal is right now, actually. And I'm going to go ahead and give a plus to story, too. So where's our notes? Here they are. Is he seriously coming back? He is. Kind of max time. Okay, so the plus is for what we already talked about. The story is for basically the scenes that I was off helping, I shouldn't say his name, helping Bob with the whole thing. So I suppose I should tell you a funny story. We had to actually the electricity entirely because the previous smoke detector was a wired one, not a battery one. So in order to properly cut the lines, he had to cut the juice. And I'm only on like a couple circuits here. And he wasn't sure which one that one is. So he had to cut the power to basically the whole apartment. That's why we went off ship stream, by the way, in case you're wondering. So I guess it's just as well that the game crashed. I didn't actually know it was a wired smoke detector, by the way. If I had known that, I would have been like, all right, he's here, I'm going to shut off as soon as he showed up. But whatever. The reason I think it's a positive is because of the most significant point, other than the obvious characterization for Ignis and Ravus, is the fact that it shows the parallel points between Ignis, Ravus, and Arden. All three of them are predominantly defined by their significant connection to someone else. Ignis is in many ways defined by his devotion to his brother. Ravus, in many ways, is defined by his devotion to his sister. And Arden was defined by his devotion to his love, Era, or whatever the hell her name is. Now, we haven't actually really seen Arden's connection point there yet, but I bring that up because the connection between Ignis and Ravus is duh. I mean, that's very on display, and we can see how much both understand each other. And that's, I think, one of the biggest reasons, as I already mentioned, why the two end up uniting so and working together so smoothly. I bring up Arden's point because that is in many ways one of the reasons why Arden is able to get to both of them. And basically, this is going to sound like a weird thing, but this episode in many ways serves as a foreshadowing for episode Arden. Which is funny, because if you think about it, the vanilla game and episode Ignis were both leading up to episode Arden, which itself was leading up to episode Lunafreya and then episode Noctis. In short, they were building up to a full and conclusive story arc for Arden, a character who a lot of people liked, but honestly didn't actually have a lot of backstory or development to him. Just vague hints of stuff. So it makes sense that they would kind of start laying the stepping stones for what was supposed to be future DLC in this one. Now, I do want to talk about the crystal briefly, because I said I would. There's no vanilla explanation for what the crystal is. Let's start with that. However, in Dawn, the crystal is... How do I put this? How many of you have played Chrono Cross? Or... I'm sure there's another game that does this. But Chrono Cross is the first one that comes to my mind immediately. In Chrono Cross, there's a very strong thematic undercurrent throughout the entire story of natural versus unnatural. Now, I'm not going to spoil all the specifics there, and it's a convoluted frickin' game, so I'd probably screw up the details anyways. But, you know, the Dragon King, the natural element of the earth, the essence of the world, versus the technology that was developed, or the magic that was developed based on the alien influence of the external force, Lavos. The conflict between the natural and the alien is a dominant force in Chrono Cross. So in the Dawn timeline, the crystal is the natural god, for lack of a better way to put it, whereas the astrals are the alien ones. And thus, a lot of the conflict kind of is built around a dichotomy between these two forces. In point in fact, in Dawn, the crystal is actually the thing that finally ends up fixing the Star Scourge in a way that makes a degree of sense. We'll talk more about that later. And the crystal operates independently of the astrals. The crystal itself is effectively, and this is a common theme from previous FFs as well, FF9 comes to mind immediately, it is the soul, to put it as simply as possible, of the planet, of Eos. It is the essence, the life, the sentience, whatever you want to call it, solidified into physical format. Thus, the majority of the nature of how this world naturally functions all is developed from and based on the crystal. Now, if you're paying attention, and I hope you are, that means that magic is natural and technology is not. This is further interesting because if you pay further attention, most of the technological advancements came at the behest of Ifrit and his interference with Solheim, which then led to those technological devices, God, I can't speak, being reverse engineered by Niflheim much later on. So yeah, magic, natural, tech, unnatural. Now that'll come up again future in the Dawn stuff, and I want to kind of shelve that for now. But that is how the Dawn timeline explains the crystal. Now, you're probably thinking, well, hang on, that doesn't line up with vanilla. You're correct. In vanilla, the crystal is there. It's a source of magic, and it's probably connected to Bahamut because it basically does Bahamut's will, and that's kind of it. I feel like I'm developing more and more why I prefer the Dawn timeline to the vanilla one, but we're not even in the vanilla timeline at this point, which brings me to my next point. And this is the reason I was thinking about streaming this particular section of this DLC before jumping into the Arden DLC. But since we're already here, I'll go ahead and talk about it now. Because I'm a moron. While they developed FF15, they were given a story which wasn't well thought out, and they had to kind of shove explanations and answers in there. And a lot of them don't make sense. We've already talked about this. And then they made the Gladiolus DLC, and that was mostly just an experiment. Then they made the Prompto DLC, and they were like, okay, cool. We're doing more character stuff. And then they sat down and they were like, this story sucks. Can we just rewrite this? And someone was like, what, you want to change the ending? Yeah, can we just change the ending? And so the Ignis DLC came out of that. And the Ignis DLC basically opened the door on their line of thinking. So, if you're paying attention to the progression, they made the vanilla, then they spent several things trying to explain vanilla, including Gladiolus, Prompto, and comrades, actually, which I'm not showing because I've already told you everything that's relevant from it. And then they skip over to Ignis, and then it's like they got permission or whatever, either literally or just in a metaphorical sense, to change the story. So they did, leading to this, which maybe I'll wait on this. I haven't decided yet. And then episode Arden, and episode Aranea, and episode Lunafreya, and episode Noctis were going to be a completely different timeline. What I've been calling the Dawn timeline. So, make of that what you will. I think we will. We'll go ahead and save this for later. That's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm only like 5 seconds into it. But I did want to talk about that. The fact that the episode Ignis just kind of opened the door on changing, literally retconning the story. I've noticed there's a bit of a tendency, and this is not exclusive to Square, for writers basically just trying to fix and fix and fix and explain and fix a story. And then eventually at some point or another, they're like, you know what, screw it. Let's just change it. And as weird as this may sound, usually, in my experience, when they decide to just change the story, is usually when it tends to get better. I actually have a direct example for you. Warcraft. Warcraft 1 into 2, Warcraft 1 into 2, and some of the ancillary works, and a bit of Warcraft 3, didn't line up at all. Oh, don't mistake me, I enjoyed all 3 games, especially Warcraft 3, but the storylines were just all over the place. And then they sat down and they were like, you know what? Because they spent quite a bit of time, including quite a bit of WoW, trying to explain the events of 1 and 2 and 3, until finally they were like, screw it, and threw it out the window and changed it, and just straight up retconned Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. And hey, what do you know? Now we have a more cohesive storyline for Warcraft. Funny how that works. Anyway, so. Yes, here. I don't know what you're talking about, Velvedrix. You're on crack. Stop doing the crack, Velvedrix. I know you like FF14. There's no drugs in FF14, are there? I just realized that. I know you like Witcher. Actually, you weren't here for Witcher either. So, obviously the other events of episode Ignis are canon, even though they don't line up quite properly, for reasons I've already discussed. And they do lead directly into the events where we hit the train, and then, I hate everything. And now we're here! In glorious, not developed land. I wish I had a free cam just to show you how much this is not here. It's actually quite amusing. I mean, don't mistake me, credit where credit is due for doing as much as they manage, but this is that's not even properly rendered out there. You know what I mean? They did what they could. This area is basically like a first draft of terrain that was probably supposed to be an actual place to play in, and instead will effectively serve as a pit stop on our story.
I take it you've arrived safely, Highness?
Yeah. Now I've just got to find out where this royal tomb is.
Look no further than the Fodina Castino. There should be an elevator leading down to the quarry from the station.
Roger.
Good luck, and hold your nose.
What? Thanks for the advice, I guess.
Yeah, this is probably the chapter where the cut content is most obvious. This and Altissia, both, I suppose. Yeah, I have no idea what that's supposed to be. I'm not even sure I could speculate. Like, its design is just... Was this a dam? Because that's what my first thought is. But it doesn't line up at all. So... This is a good time to mention something. Blue Wolf Alex brought this up yesterday, and this is worthy of noting. It is relevant that Noctis's power level... I keep talking about how powerful Noctis is, but it's worth noting that he basically went full tilt against Leviathan, and he paid for it. He basically passed out from the exertion afterwards, and had to be healed for several minutes solid by the dying Luna Freya in order to recover from that. So, I mean, obviously we're not quite that superpowered right now. We can go Super Saiyan if we need to, but we're not actually at that point. That's supposed to be a city. I'll take your word on it. I've seen weirder cities in real life. Oh, come on. Whatever. Aw. Apparently this is a quarry. So I'm being told this is both a city and a quarry. I suppose those aren't mutually exclusive. I'll take your word on it, guys. It would have been nice if the third continent was actually a location, but obviously it isn't. In fact, there's a fourth area that should have been a location too, but we'll get there later.
Ready to set out? I'll manage somehow.
Oh yeah, Ignis is awesome, by the way. I mean, he literally willingly decided to accept blindness for a temporary power-up, just for the opportunity to possibly save Noctis. I mean...
Well, we made it to the quarry.
But our destination likely lies deeper inside.
But this...
Feeling a little out of my element.
We're a foreign species in this environment. Mind we don't end up prey.
Right. Good tip.
Ignis walks at a slower pace due to his eye injury. Be sure not to leave him behind. Yeah, So, okay, I see what you're saying now, Pillars of Snow. So apparently the previous area was not the quarry. This is the quarry. Which makes a lot more sense.
Watch your step.
As best I can.
Go at your own pace. We'll wait.
So Ignis is now literally slower. I should also point out, even though we don't actually know this yet, that his combat abilities have completely changed. And
Don't push yourself, Ignis.
And like little stuff like that keeps happening. You may have noticed that I italicized a plus like forever ago, like 2 days ago. And yeah. This is something that I consider a story positive. This is one of the first ones that came to mind when I thought about this game. Just thinking in advance, you know. I love how they show actual gameplay consequence. I know that sounds like a strange thing, because it's so easy for gameplay consequence to be a negative. But I think, this is just my opinion, I think in this case it works. When something this substantial and devastating happens, especially to a main party member, there should be a gameplay consequence of it. And there is. There's actually two. We've got this slow section, and the fact that we can't use him quite properly, and the fact that when he's a little more recovered, which I think is like at the end of this section, he will have, as I mentioned, different abilities. In short, I think this is awesome. And I do think this deserves a story plus and a gameplay plus. So it's the one I called substantial and actual consequence. That's the point, and I'm going to go ahead and de-italicize that. Which is funny, because if you're paying attention, this is actually the second plus I've given to Ignis's blindness. But I stand by that. Because they could have just made him blind and showed the impact of that, and then just kind of walked it off, which I've seen other fiction do. I'm not going to spoil, but I've seen other fiction do that. But the fact that Ignis's blindness continues to be a point, both in plot and in gameplay after this, it keeps being a thing, and they keep doing good stuff with it, and they keep showing how Prompto is reacting to it, and how Gladiolus reacts to it, and how Noctis reacts to it. jot that down too. That's why I feel it deserves a second plus, my opinion. Which means we're actually up to 15 story pluses now. And I do think deserves a gameplay positive. What? Undo. I agree, actually, Valvatrix. He actually mentions that the scars will heal over time and the wounds will heal over time. And there's a possibility that he will actually gain at least some of his sight back. So, either he learns to live with it, or he starts to heal. Either way, 10 years is plenty of time for him to be more functional when we see him again. As much as I bash this story for not making sense and not lining up properly, there are a few points where they clearly spent a lot of time and effort, and the main quartet really is you can tell they really did spend a lot of effort on the main quartet, or at least the main trio. So, combat.
Watch out, Iggy. They're on top of us.
Ah, thank you.
Don't thank me yet.
So I'm actually putting the camera this way because I want to show we've all pulled out our weapons. Ignis, look at what Ignis is doing, other than getting hit. Do you see how Ignis is literally swinging at the air, missing and falling over? Now walking towards the sound. Makes a swing. Misses completely. He's basically not in combat, functionally. He can get hit, but he cannot do any damage.
Hang back. Was I in the way?
No, you weren't. It's just...
And I've said it before, but I love the way they all react to this. Speaking as someone who has been crippled in his life, I know what it's like to be the person and other people literally don't know how to deal with you.
The royal procession sticks together.
Sorry.
Too much to ask you to shut it?
I actually didn't mean to do that. I lost Ignis there. Where am I? And yeah, I'll show off the group attacks thing next combat, which I believe there'll be another one just up ahead here.
Pronto. Perhaps it's time for some light.
Yeah. How did you...
The hour is late. That much I can tell.
Oh, I see. That's... good.
Yeah, I mentioned how I started to lose Gladiolus as a character on the train. I'll continue to lose him as a character pretty much from this point onwards. I don't remember him being particularly awesome, like, at all after this point.
Tomb must be down below.
Whoa. Careful, Ignis.
Right.
Oh yeah, by the way, I should point this out. You can just leave Ignis behind, which leads to another little tidbit where he's like, yeah. But no, we're definitely bringing him with, because this is awesome stuff here. Now, you know how they could have taken this too far and made this irritating? Imagine forcing you to go at walking speed, which is slower than I'm currently going, by the way, and basically hold Ignis the whole way down here. That would have gone beyond acceptable and into irritating territory for me. Whenever you're going to chop the player off at the knees, you know, in terms of gameplay, you need to be careful with it, in my opinion.
Huh. Wish we could write him a ticket.
You need to be careful with it, in my opinion. You can't hinder them too much, and you can't hinder them too long. Both of those are the important points. So while we are hindered here, it's not that bad of a hindrance, and it's also an optional hindrance. And again, they don't keep it too long, although, again, if you had to carry him this whole way, that would be way too long.
Nothing but a giant roadblock.
Ironic for a vehicle.
If we get its motor running, perhaps we can move it out of the way.
There's gotta be an on button around here somewhere.
Might as well start searching then.
By the way, you'll notice that Noctis... another thing I love about this is the tone of the banter has just completely changed. Like, I'm sure you've noticed that. It's no more friendly, happy, you know, friends and brothers. There's a bitterness and an uncertainty and an edge to everything. Gladiolus sounds angry all the time. Noctis sounds passive-aggressive. Ignis sounds uncertain. Prompto sounds like he has no idea what to say. All four of them are just like... this is why I gave that plus for manually crafted banter. Because when it's something they designed manually to fit a specific scene, it works very well. As opposed to the random banter, which is awful. Thank you very, very much, Lord of Mordor. Much appreciated, as always. Thank you so much for the support. And I don't have that document because I had to shut down my computer because he cut the power. But if you'll give me a moment, I'll pull that right back up here and put that towards Black Mesa. So noted. Thank you again. Now, did I give a story negative for that? Because I should if I didn't. Yep, I did. Okay, cool. I know what you're thinking. What story negative? For the random banter. Imperials above us! Or da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na for 15,000 times. Or, so take your jacket off. Or, that's it! Like, I'm sorry, the random banter got old. The manual banter is awesome, which is funny because that's the second time I've given that exact same positive and negative to a game for exactly that reason. That's true, Valvatrix. That's a good example of that. Yeah, true enough, Max Time. I honestly, and I mean this with total sincerity, I wouldn't be surprised if that exact same positive and minus are also given to FF7R. Like, we haven't seen, or at least we don't know if we've seen, random banter in FF7R. But there's probably going to be some, and it's probably going to grate on our nerves.
This looks promising.
Is it operational?
We'll see.
Oh, and once again, credit to the voice actors, especially Ray Chase, who just nails the tone he's supposed to have right here. Honestly, Max Time, this is going to sound like a weird parallel, but I'm reminded of Heroes of the Storm.
Stopping for?
I'm not.
Let's see here. In case of power failure, use backup generators. There's a key in the shed.
So where is this shed?
Well, if we knew where it was, we wouldn't be looking.
Which means it's gotta be somewhere we haven't looked yet.
Okay, here we go. Enemies everywhere.
I'll keep both on it.
That'll do.
Oh, hang on. Mark it, Ignis. Ignis, mark it! Notice it's there, but it's actually not an option. We can't even select it. So sorry, I was talking about Heroes of the Storm. I did have actually a point to make there. When they were making Heroes of the Storm, they looked at all their previous games and said, you know what? There are too few bits of dialogue for these characters. Like, even games that I am particularly fond of. Whoops. Let's do this really quick here. Now that we've shown off a little bit. Like, Warcraft 3. Great game, right?
Jews are always in the darndest places.
Glad you're taking this seriously.
Lorerun, Nokar. I am the War Chief. Lorerun, Nokar. What is it you wish? The spirits are restless. Lorerun, Nokar. The spirits are restless. I am the War... You get my point. It's not quite the exact same issue, but it's a related issue.
Going it alone, huh?
No, I'm trying to kill the freaking... I haven't even succeeded at killing this thing.
Don't you think you've heard Iggy enough already?
Sorry.
Yeah, no kidding, Velvetrix. Anyways, my point being that the developers of Heroes of the Storm looked at those problems and said, you know what, that's ridiculous. So they went out of the way to code in a lot of options. So instead of just the same, like, 4, which was the average, it was closer to 15 for just, like, attack move, for example. And that helped a lot. Simply making more of them helped the random banter problem a lot. Then you add on to that the fact that there's actual banter dialogue options in Heroes of the Storm, where certain heroes will talk to each other at certain points in the match. So in short, Heroes of the Storm actually is one of the very few games of that type which probably would not get a negative for the random dialogue and the random banter, because it actually did it properly. I'm not even sure I can name another game that does that off the top of my head. Guys, I literally lost them. Did they teleport? Because they can still do that. Yeah, Overwatch failed pretty miserably. Nerf this! And now say that 15 more times. Yeah, you get the idea. Guys? I think one of them's legitimately stuck. Yep, they are actually stuck. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. Okay, did that, like, break them? Well, there's Gladiolus. There they are.
Ain't got time to waste.
Think I don't know that?
Okay, we fixed Ignis by going ahead. I don't actually remember random banter in the Dragon Age series. Like, in Dragon Age Origins, there is no random banter. I can actually say that definitively, because there's a set script that every characters will say to each other. And there's, like, specific points at which when you cross, it'll trigger the script. So in Dragon Age Origins, it's purely manual banter, as I've discussed the difference between. I don't remember Inquisition well enough to comment on that one, though.
Glad that's over.
I only wish I could do more.
You staying alive is enough.
No, remember. Inqua what? It's a shame that one of the things I remember most about Inquisition is what I consider to be the worst part of it. Those frickin' Highlands. So hey, there's a campfire spot, guys. I think we should camp here. What do you guys think? If I can remember how to get over there.
I found it. Up there.
Nah, we shouldn't camp. We're not here for lore. Lowercase. We're definitely not here for lore uppercase. Screw that guy. Having to go deal with real life crap. Bastard. I do need some elements because I want to be able to craft a super spell later. Ooh, there's one of each here. I'll get the lightning later.
I'm exhausted.
If I'm being honest, Max Time, if I had known it was an electrical thing, which then had to be pried off the wall, and then basically destroy the backplate because it was so rotten, it was like an 80 model, I think I mentioned that he had to literally take a hammer to it to break it off the wall, and then pry the bolts out, and then cut the wires, which meant cutting the power. Basically, if I'd known it was going to be that much of a deal, I would have paused immediately. I thought it was going to be like a 3-minute affair. Because I've changed smoke detectors before. Boop. You know, clunk. Clunk is all it should have been. But, whatever. Sorry, guys. But yeah, how Prompto's behaving here. I hate to continue praising this game. That's not true. But there's one of the reasons I gravitate towards Prompto so much, and it's because I have known so many people just like him. And I have been like that myself at a specific point in my life. That was back when I was in 4th and 5th grade. I used the word hesitant. He doesn't know what to do. He has no idea how to act. It's like a certain type of awkward, but it's a good awkward. You know, as opposed to a bad awkward. He's just so... What do I do? Should I help? Should I... immediately gets up as soon as he sees Ignis, and then realizes he can't do anything, and so he just kind of... and then he goes over and is like, here, let me take your cane for you. That's a thing I could do to help, right? That's a thing. Maybe I should... I'll stand back here. I'll just stand back here. Maybe I should sit? Should I sit? Like, you just feel the anxiety and the very human uncertainty. He's wonderfully human, and I tend to like that. And, of course, Gladiolus gets up and wands away, and Prompto's just like, should I sit over there? Should I sit with the group? What do I do? So we can have a chilled food tin or a cup of noodles, because we don't have our cook. Yeah, I agree, Dakota. I got to be 100% honest. I'm gonna decide as we go through this, but I am honestly debating giving a negative to Gladiolus for this whole section. Not just because he irritates me, but because it feels like he's drama for drama's sake. He's just drama, as I like to call it. Everyone else is perfect for this section. Prompto is perfect, Ignis is perfect, Noctis is perfect. Gladiolus is just... what do they call that? Reality TV. There we go. That's what Gladiolus is being here. I'm gonna pencil that in, but I'm pretty sure that's gonna end up being a thing. I agree with both Max Time and Dakota. I think they just had no idea how to deal with him as a character. No, it says that increases maximum HP by 100 and attack by 30. Although, the garbage cup of noodles increases attack by 80 and HP by 500. So it shows how pathetic it is by comparison. When this is so much worse than this, you know there's something wrong. And yeah, no dialogue, no banter. And they always had little animations here of them talking or eating or whatever. And they're all just sitting there like... Gladiolus is actually... Notice, by the way, Gladiolus is sitting facing away from them. And the fourth chair is just sitting there empty.
Took more photos today. You want to see?
No. Not really.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're good there. Possible, JP, but I don't buy it for a second, to be honest.
You okay, Ignis?
I'm fine. Don't mind me.
So we're gonna sidle on down here really quick. Oh, I'm full on lightning. Ah, whatever. Guys, I'm full on lightning. Oh yeah, the photos there were awful. And again, that makes perfect sense. This is yet another way in which the whole camping mechanic thing actually works perfectly. So I mentioned how I dislike how the road trip camping tone lasts too long. Part of why I say that is because of this section right here. This shows that they could have used the camping adventurous tone thing properly and just kind of didn't up until now. Which, again, makes it even more jarring. It's not like you can't use that as a narrative tool, you know?
Here, I found the key.
Huh. Pretty irresponsible to leave it out in the open like that.
Where is the generator?
Didn't you read the sign, Iggy?
Not funny.
I agree, Takota. Because, spoiler alert, from this point on to the end of the game, it's all doom and gloom. The tone of the entire rest of the game is very Tabata. Everyone's gonna die and suffer and be tortured, and tragedy and death and darkness and no parents. That's gonna be the rest of the game. You know, typical Tabata work, in other words.
It's proving a challenge.
What did you expect?
I agree, by the way. Prompto saying that is legitimately tasteless. I wouldn't have even responded verbally. Like, if I was there, I would have just turned and looked at him. I'm told I have a pretty good glare. Yeah, slash kick. Can everyone... we need everyone to vote. Slash kick.
No way to work the machine with that thing in the way.
Okay. Despawn. Okay, fine.
Where is it?
Right here.
How does it look?
She's wired and ready. Give it a go.
And don't blow it up.
Oh, thanks for the advice.
Did it work?
Yep. One more to go.
Seriously? Since when are there two of them?
Can it? Let's just get this thing moving so we can get on with our mission.
Now, I kind of mentioned this earlier because I kind of agree with Max Time that all of a sudden us caring about the swords again, even when the majority of them were optional before this, is kind of weird and badly presented. However, I'm okay with it basically because the point here is not to get the sword. Like, you know what I mean? This has nothing to do with dungeon crawling and getting the additional power for Noctis. This is all about breaking down the that's a great way to put it, the dynamic of the four characters. This is all character, this whole section. So in this case, I'm willing to accept it, even though, whatever. Although, in the interest of fairness, if the rest of the legendary weapons were mandatory, honestly, that would probably get very, very irritating. That would bother me less, Strife, if there was an explanation for it, which to my knowledge there is none.
Let's get on with it.
You getting a feel for things, Ignis?
Feeling my way around.
I wonder what would happen if I used my speed cheat right about here. Sorry, Ignis. Gotta go fast.
We've got the power!
Might not have it for long, though. Hurry up and move the machine.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, one final point. Gladiolus acting in this manner. I just realized I can't save. We're in a dungeon. Gladiolus acting in this manner, pretty relatively soon after his own DLC, which is supposed to be all about character building for him, is even more egregious. And that's all I was going to say.
Don't run ahead.
Yeah, well, he's stuck, so whatever. That would make sense, Dakota. I was actually thinking something in a different line. Basically, political alliances by offering them something that they value. In this case, you know, resting one of their kings here.
Sounds like we're clear.
Grand. Then let's move.
You know, there's all sorts of things to offer to another nation for political connections. Offering to let them store one of your kings and one of their legendary weapons sounds like an interesting method for me, politically speaking. But I like your idea better. It would make sense, too, because, I mean, there's 4 city-states on the entire planet. I keep calling them city-states because that's what they are. In short, it would be interesting if they used to not be city-states. To my knowledge, there's no information about that, by the way. I mean, Solheim used to be a planet-spanning organization.
Hold up. You sure you're ready for this? You got what it takes?
To do what?
To face your ancestors and convince them to lend you their strength. Got a long road ahead. Can you see this through? To the end?
As if I have a choice. You think I like the idea of people sacrificing themselves for me? One after the other?
Enough. Forget it. I thought you'd accepted your duty. I thought wrong.
This admittedly also pisses me off a little bit. Because he's all talking about duty. But it's not. Like, this is not his duty. This is his... You know what? For those of you who watched the Legion Lorerun, this is Noctis being told to go get Bahamut a sandwich. And I mean, I hate to be dismissive.
The tomb's further in?
You want to wait here?
Alone. Here.
Not what I said.
Oh, man. Something stinks around here. Don't slip and fall and whatever that is.
I hope it's not a Marlboro. That'd be terrible. Hate those things. You know a funny thing? The excuse the Astrals give for going to war with Ifrit is they are sworn to protect Eos. I'm not sure what they're sworn to. I mean, I know exactly what they were supposed to be sworn to.
Somewhere. The question is, where?
They were supposed to be sworn to Boon of Elzeblah. And then they disconnected this from the rest of 13.
So much for sticking together.
Shut up, Gladiolus. I'm in a hurry. Well, there's nothing here. We give up.
What about over there? Looks pretty to me.
Oops.
What is this?
I hate eggs.
Do we really want to know what's back there? That looks like a mouth. Is that its face?
God dang it.
What is it? Something real bad.
Oh no, what do we do? Ignis, tell us what to do. We're all stupid without you.
Whoa! Look who's hatching!
Bust him up. It's useless.
What do we do?
This might be a good time to panic. There must be a way.
Get back!
I do like how they portray Confuse, by the way. Your controls are reversed and your auto attack hits your allies. There we go.
Gotta shut that thing's trap.
Knocked. I have an idea. If I may... As I suspected.
It really worked!
Nice.
Now, fighting chance.
Ignis has obtained the ability Super Death Doom.
Iggy, you saved us.
Seriously. We'd be plant food if it weren't for you.
Happy to help.
What, no royal commendation from His Majesty?
None for you, at least.
Whisking them just makes a mess. Better fry them.
I think we found it.
Just wish they found a better place to build it.
All right, let's haul ass.
Yeah, let's.
Oh yeah, by the way, just to mention it, I like the fact that Ignis is still useful because he's, you know, still has his brain, even if he's lost some of his other abilities.
A moment.
Is everything okay?
It bloody well isn't. And I won't suffer this pointless bickering in silence any longer. Let's be frank. My vision hasn't improved, and probably won't. Yet in spite of this, I would remain with you all. To the very end.
Sorry, but I object. War is a matter of life and death.
But we'll be there.
It's not about us looking out for him.
Uh-huh. Well, then he should be free to choose.
There's more to it than just what he wants.
I know full well. I won't ask you to slow down. If I cannot keep up, I will bow out.
What says His Majesty?
Noct. You are king. One cannot lead by standing still. A king pushes onward, always, accepting the consequences and never looking back. Gladio, Noct will take his rightful place, but only once he's ready.
Have it your way. We're still taking a big risk. We better all be ready.
Oh, and if you're paying attention, yes. I deliberately made it so that the three main characters had the same type of outfit. And Gladiolus does not. Probably the best scene to show that off right there.
You guys mind if we stop in Tenebrae?
Might as well hop off.
If it helps him move on.
I mean, it makes sense to me, Melkor. Ignis has always been the center of the group in more ways than one.
All set for boarding?
No.
Not yet.
There's still time before we depart. Just let me know when your preparations are in order.
Hang on. I haven't saved in a bit. Okay, now.
All set for boarding?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's roll.
In that case, hop aboard. We'll be leaving shortly.
We're here for you.
Yeah. Let us help you. And we're off!
Are we clear?
Crystal.
Hey, watch your step.
You're not pushing onward?
Not at his expense.
Fair enough.
Sorry. Dun, dun, dun. Whoa, 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 whoa. Honestly, I agree, Mr. Egypt. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Arden would have actually successfully flipped Gladiolus. Now, that being said, it is also probably worth mentioning that I have a feeling Arden would look down at Gladiolus too much to actually, try to flip him. Like, who gives a damn, right? I'll take that one, and that one. And... yeah, not that one. Yeah, that one, sure. As we race to the end game. We're, what, 2 sections away from the end of the game? I suppose 3, counting Prompto. God dang it, Rax. Tap. Tap.
Feels good to ride the rails.
Sure does.
Eager to drive once we're in Gralia?
If they'll let me.
We're fortunate to have the regalia at all. We owe the First Secretary our thanks.
She'd get more thanks if she gave us a discount.
Those transceivers are top-notch. I recall when the Hydrian raged. In the midst of the Empire's retreat, one conspicuous craft remained behind. The Chancellor's. The last thing I remember seeing was his ship, heading for the altar. I fell unconscious and was powerless to stop him.
Really?
I'm just glad you're alive.
Oh, is someone else there?
Gladio. He just came back. Where did he go anyway?
On a brief reconnaissance. Something caught my ear.
Hey, Captain. Mission complete.
Splendid.
So what caught your ear?
Rumors of longer nights.
They've been growing longer day by day.
If you're paying attention, that's the first time that's actually come up in the narrative. I pointed out how each chapter, the physical days get smaller, but most players will never notice that. In fact, as I pointed out, most players didn't notice that until I mentioned it. This, chapter 11, chapter 13 is the last chapter, by the way. Chapter 11 is the first time they actually bring up the day-night problem of the Star Scourge.
There was talk of it back in Lucis, but recent days have shown an unseasonably sharp change. Should this trend continue, before long...
There won't be daylight.
Well, it's not out of the question. The Empire's already slain half of the 6. No wonder the whole world's in disarray.
I guess.
And longer nights mean more demons.
Seen that with our own eyes.
That's fair. There's the 14th chapter as well, but I usually don't even consider it. That's my fault, though. So yeah, there's 14 chapters.
I happened to overhear a fellow passenger discussing this very same phenomenon.
So he sent yours truly to seek him out.
Nice police work.
Well, don't want to keep him waiting.
No, we don't. Back in a moment.
Sure.
Just to put that in a different way, that means 78% of the game is done before they mention the day-night thing.
Whoa! Oh, there you are, buddy.
Okay, very minor point. Notice that Prompto doesn't show up until Ignis leaves, keeping in mind that Ignis has already seen this particular trick. Now, I don't know if that's deliberate or not, because we've already seen multiple times that there's inconsistencies between the side DLCs, even the ones that are supposed to be part of the main canon, and the main canon. But
Did you see this? Oh, it's unreal. Yeah. Never seen anything like it. Doesn't make any sense.
honestly, I'd like to think that Ignis would have figured it out if given enough time last time. Damn it, Shiva.
What's going on?
It's a real mystery. I'm not liking that snow cloud. Kind of gives me the chills. Like, who comes up with this stuff? I couldn't dream something like this if I tried. It's a wondrous world.
Okay, very nice point here. That's not Arden's speech patterns at all.
The hell are you doing here?
What's going on?
Like, that is literally not how Arden talks in any way.
See that, buddy? Oh, didn't see that coming. You all right?
Honestly, the fact that Noctis falls for this so completely is a little pathetic, but whatever.
Shut up! Be careful there! Wait, is this for real?
Oh yeah, definite kudos to both actors. They both play the other character quite well.
What? No!
Show yourself!
Knocked.
That son of a bitch.
Now, they never explain how Arden has just illusion powers, by the way, which is basically how he's doing this. And that kind of irritates me, I'll admit it, but whatever.
Come on, Knocked. You're scaring me. Seriously, man. Cut it out. It's not safe. Plus, you're causing a scene. Quit playing around, okay?
You think this is funny?
Dude, are you seriously trying to kill me?
Why wouldn't I? I've got you now. What are you after, following me around this whole time? It's all your fault!
What are you talking about? Do you really mean that, Knocked?
What? Are you saying it's not?
Yes. What good would it do me to hurt you?
Who cares?
Knocked. Please, can't we talk for a sec?
Never.
Sorry, I should read this out loud. The deserts of the western continent have long been littered with imperial armories and outposts. The slaying of the Glacian, Shiva, gave birth to a paradoxical phenomenon. Snowfields and sand dunes coexist mere miles apart. Noctis and his friends would be wise to flee this treacherous terrain post-haste.
Noct! Are you okay?
No. Where's Arden?
Wait, he's here? If he is, that would explain all this weird stuff happening. I bet he's behind the train stopping. Ignis and Gladio went up to inspect the engine room. I say the two of us go check out the rear.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is... This is going to sound like a weird statement, but Noct just falls for this hook, line, and sinker. In both illusions. And I'm not sure if that's acceptable. I'll have to debate that. What do you guys think?
What's happening?
Oh yeah, by the way, that's Arden, if it's not obvious.
Did they bomb us? Not! We have to protect the people!
Sorry, I just realized I should show something off if I can. Hang on.
Head to the next car!
Leave these guys to us.
So much for a safe ride. More of them might be on board.
Okay, it's kind of subtle.
We need to get the train moving again.
I'm sure Ignis and Gladio will come up with something.
I hope so. Let's go.
Basically, I'll just go ahead and summarize. Prompto is literally using different animations right now.
Ouch! It hurts.
Like his run animation, his stand animation, his attack animations are all different. Hello, Adam Suda. And like any good mystery, it starts off pretty subtle. Unless you're paying attention, you probably wouldn't catch on. Later on, it'll get a little more obvious.
Crap. The MTs can self-destruct?
We can't let them inside.
Well then, we take the fight to them.
Ah, escort missions.
We've got company.
Sure do.
Let the party begin.
It's us against them.
What are the odds we'll win?
Trying to keep Prompto on screen as much as possible so you can see what I'm talking about.
There's just too many of them.
The fun never ends.
Oh yeah, there's their Star Destroyer. I'll complain about that later. The Empire has a Star Destroyer, by the way. Whatever. It's just whatever at this point.
How bad do you think it is?
Kinda, yeah, max time. I don't actually know. Rihakusake.
These guys look like trouble. Knocked! He's ready for round 2.
Oh yeah, by the way, just to point it out, you notice we've got our artillery tanks up there. Actually in function for once. Rather than just being ruined.
On the road already. Good news, Knox. Ignis just called and said we're almost ready to roll.
Finally.
He's back on his feet.
Yeah, that's what I call author factor, Dakota. I've only brought that up a couple of times. The author factor boils down to how much you trust the authors and the craft and the care they put into it. Because the less you trust them, the less you can speculate or pick up on things. Because it's more likely to just be a mistake.
Knocked. He's ready for round 2.
Pronto.
Looks like they've rolled out the big guns.
But the more you trust them, the higher the writer factor, or the author factor. The more likely it is that any of these subtle nuances or things being wrong are actually foreshadowing. And I find that keeping keeping author factor in mind is basically mandatory for analyzing and discussing fiction. No.
Hurry!
There you go.
Come on! We're leaving! Look! They're hot on our tail! They're gonna blow us to bits!
How if we blow him up first?
How's that now?
Sure.
Yeah! Well, there's an idea!
Thankfully, the train gets a heal in between those sections. No. There we go.
She's gonna blow! Going down.
Ah!
She's gonna blow! That one's next.
Or don't let me out? I mean, that's cool, too. I didn't really want to leave the exploding flying ship. The controls here are kind of weird, if that's not obvious. Thankfully, it's not a binary you fail if you're on board while it starts detonating thing. That would be awful.
That'll do it. Better head back down. Prompto! Oh! Oh! Whoa!
How long were you in the dark?
Lore shock. Chapter 12. You'll notice we're just racing through chapters at this point, by the way. Erden uses a stitch in time to switch appearances with Prompto, which makes no sense whatsoever, and tricks Noct into hurting his closest friend. Nevertheless, a king pushes ever onward, accepting the consequences and never looking back. Yeah, no, I think it's a lot more easy to just say that when he was a mage back in the day, he was an illusionist. Yeah, sure thing, Ert. Hang on. Tails. Heads.
Damn it.
So what did we just decide? By the way, not to complain, but you can really tell that terrain is just copy-pasted a lot.
Ignis, you've got to stop this thing. Prompto fell off the train. I pushed him. I mean, Arden made me. I don't know where he is, but we can't leave him.
Stay calm, Noct. I'm as concerned for Prompto as you are, but stopping the train would endanger everyone on board. We'd be sitting ducks for the demons.
What do we do?
First, we drop the passengers off at Tenebrae. We'll be arriving shortly.
What about Prompto?
Given the Chancellor's involvement,
Wendy's.
it's probable he's no longer where we left him. In any case, he may try to contact us. Let us wait and hope for now. Can you make your way here? Gladio's with me.
Are the two of you okay at least?
Yes.
Okay, on my way. I'll be there as soon as I take care of these stowaways.
Credit to Ray Chase, by the way. He sounds very appropriately wigged out there, as he should. I mean, if you think about it, one of the things I do like about this section is that Noctis is just getting crap upon crap upon crap piled onto him, and he shows it. That's why I'm not giving a negative for the fact that he didn't pick up on what is basically a very obvious deception. Because he is completely out of his mind right now, emotionally. in short, this would actually probably be a negative if Ray Chase wasn't selling the voice acting as well as he is. Frickin' drowners. So yeah, these are demons. And this is basically a showcasing of what demons can do and are, and why they're a problem. If you're paying attention, this is the first narrative point at which demons come up. Now, there's actually been a lot of different times in which we can fight demons prior to now. But this is the first time it's been shoved on screen in a way we cannot avoid.
Can't take much more of this.
No, there's plenty of monsters that are basically just the equivalent of animals. Don't care for this camera angle, though. Yeah, there's some inconsistencies with the light and the demons, as there always are. Like you do. I mean, we might as well just call this inconsistency of the game. Excuse me. That would actually be really awesome for this section. Like, they can attack and move in the dark, but they kind of blink out whenever the light passes. Like these passing lights were going. That would actually make this really cool, in my opinion. But no. And of course, it would make perfect sense. Or maybe, like, going in the light stuns them for a second. You know, something. Like, ugh. I mean, you'll notice we're outside now, and they're fine. Hey, Leviathan. How are things? Thanks. Appreciate it. So, Minecraft rules then, Dakota. Interesting. This, like so many other cutscenes, doesn't work, mostly because it didn't earn it, but the idea here is they're trying to showcase the foreshadowing for what the world of Ruin will eventually become. To show, they've mentioned demons like 3 times before now in non-optional stuff, but this is actually showcasing the day-to-day threat that demons are supposed to be. And it's also showing how they have now escalated beyond control. The problem is there's no gradient. It's just, here's the game, here's the game, here's the game, here's the game. Oh, by the way, demons. It's like as if the zombie apocalypse just kind of suddenly happened. And yet everyone acts as if it's been a building point up to this point. Now, narratively speaking, ever since they... well, that's not true. Narratively speaking, in the vanilla timeline, ever since they've been experimenting with the Magitech weapons and the artificial demons and blah, 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 that has been spreading the Star Scourge around. Thus, what's supposed to be happening in the original vanilla timeline is, bit by bit, there is a slow increase in the amount of demons because there is an increase in the amount of Star Scourge. And all a demon is an existing entity that has been infected with Star Scourge. That's all that it means. So people, animals, etc. Fish, you know. Spiders. Now, in my opinion, the game doesn't earn that in vanilla. It doesn't really showcase all that properly, which is why I'm telling it to you. But as Dakota points out, this is going to be a continuing point, because the idea is we see lots of civilization, then a little civilization, then hardly any civilization, and then no civilization. When we get to Niflheim, it is devoid of life by this point in time, because it has completely been overrun by the Star Scourge.
Well, look who's here.
Now, this sounds like a weird thing to do, but I'm actually going to read you episode Aranea basically now, and then we're going to go do the Prompto DLC.
Aranea. Guess we've got you to thank for this mess.
More to it than meets the eye. You want to know who to thank? Come with me.
Can't wait to hear this.
That should, yep, it should let me actually stop here.
Huh?
So, it's not going to let me save. Of course it's not going to let me save. Why would it let me save? That's just insanity. I'm going to read Aranea's thing anyways. Like right now. Give me a moment. Because I lost everything because of the frickin' power thing. Alright, hang on a second. There we go. Okay. Actually, I think I'll let this scene play out. Then we'll read her thing.
What did you do to your eyes?
Oh, just a flesh wound.
Can you see?
I'm afraid not.
Wow, that sucks. It's a cruel world.
I'm actually not sure, Dakota.
Wasn't there one more of you guys?
Yeah, there was.
We lost track of him.
Is he dead?
I don't know.
Then quit moping, keep hoping. And in the meantime, handle what's at hand.
I hate to once again point this out, but you notice we can literally see the stars through the sky.
So if it's not you, we thank.
Oh, thank the demons. Pawns of the Imperial Army.
The army that you fight for.
Fought for. My men and I are in the search and rescue business now.
You mentioned being part of the relief effort. We have a favor to ask.
Ask away.
In light of what you've told us, we can't allow the other passengers to continue on.
Sure, leave him to me. But who's gonna drive the train?
Now that you mention it, yeah. You know anyone?
I do. In fact, I know two. Your new engineers. Biggs and Wedge. No need to worry. They can take a licking.
Only if we have to. What's all this about?
Driving a train to Growlia.
That all.
Well, who would you have me ask?
You got us there.
We'll do it. Hey, really appreciate you going out of your way.
Yeah. No sweat.
Yeah, this is a pure fan service cameo, but I'm actually with it because it fits in pretty neatly. So, you know, I'm on board, basically. Oh, I can finally save. Okay. So before we talk to Biggs and Wedge, I do want to read Aranea's DLC. So Aranea's DLC was supposed to be set kind of before now. That's why I want to read it now. What happens is Aranea has returned to Niflheim after a 35-hour shift, leading a recovery and cleanup effort into Altisha with Biggs and Wedge. She lost half of her unit in the fighting, and the military at this point is treating its human troops even basically as completely expendable and worse than their actual Magitech infantry. This bugs the overliving crap out of Aranea, and she thinks about how much the Empire has changed ever since her childhood, putting all its resources into expanding the military, making the citizens' lives bleak, and places like, you know, amusement parks, cinemas, hotels, libraries, etc. have all shut down. In short, there's a very obvious Nazi Germany parallel here, or actually Nazi regime parallel here. So she enters Grelea, and she finds the military there fighting a diamond weapon that's been released in the city, which is heading her for Zignata's Keep. Because, yes, that's right, in case you forgot, their military, in addition to having airships, disposable troops, which are superhuman, a Star Destroyer, they also have diamond weapons. Plural. Anyways. Aranea follows along with her subordinates, Big and Wedge. By the way, the DLC was supposed to have you playing as Aranea with Biggs and Wedge being the party members, if that's not obvious. So they evacuate the children in the area. Arden addresses the city through a speaker system to announce that on this day, the Empire falls, and Emperor Aldercapt, who had pursued immortality via his quest to acquire magic to be Niflheim's eternal sovereign, has no successor. The Emperor's wife died after giving birth. The Emperor never remarried. Their son died in battle. Thus, the public believes losing his wife twisted Aldercapt's personality. But Aranea privately thinks to herself that it was Arden who actually twisted Aldercapt. Yeah, I don't know, Dakota. Aranea finds the keep devoid of life, and the Emperor is dead on the throne. On the roof, she finds Arden and spots an airship transporting the diamond weapon towards Tenebrae, and she realizes he, that is to say Arden, had released the weapon and contacts the rogue MTs on the city to try and attack. But he evades and deflects her attack easily because Arden is ridiculously overpowered. Biggs contacts Aranea to say he has put the refugees on the train to Tenebrae, excuse me. Aranea declares she quits and jumps off the roof. She runs into Loki. You remember he? He was the commander we fought way back at our very first base. And he is in his Magitek armor transporting an 8-year-old girl on special order from the Emperor. The interaction makes her reflect on her own childhood when the village was attacked by demons, and she had led the younger children to safety while the adults fought. Loki entrusts the girl to her and holds back a horde of demons, while Aranea heads for the train, telling her unit that the final mission is to protect Tenebrae. They down the airship transporting the diamond weapon, the one that was supposed to hit where we are right now, and Aranea kills the monster by destroying its Magitek cores. The refugees arrive in Tenebrae, and Aranea learns the girl in her care is Solara Aldercap Anticume, the secret daughter of the Emperor's late son. Now, I'm pretty sure that Miss Solara doesn't appear in the vanilla game at all. I'm 90% certain of that. Yep, nope, I am correct. But she is a moderately significant character when it comes to the Dawn stuff. And so... Now, everything I just read for you actually isn't part of the vanilla story. I hate to say that. But I do feel like this is the most significant part to read it because most of the Dawn story basically tells like a similar but slightly different variant on the vanilla story. You know, a second draft, basically, as Kay so accurately put it earlier. So, the idea here is that most of what I just read probably happened to some extent or another in the vanilla timeline, leading to Aranea ending up here, which is where we meet her. The only big difference is the existence of Solara, who, to my knowledge, doesn't exist at all in the vanilla timeline, as well as the lead-up into Aranea becoming part of the Resistance Force, which will be a relevant thing when we get to the Dawn timeline. But that was to be Aranea's DLC. I gotta admit, I missed out on the chance to fight a diamond weapon as a dragoon, but whatever. I mean, that probably sounds cool. I don't know. The hell do I know at this point? What time is it? Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you guys something weird. There's a boss in episode Prompto that sucks. I'm going to tell you right now, he is very likely to get a negative. But, I could one-shot him. You know, just pure catharsis, because screw that boss. Do you want me to, guys? Because I will tell you right now he deserves a negative. I've fought him. I've watched Rax fight him. You know, I've seen YouTubes of this while preparing for this. He is a terrible boss, and I'm already decided that he deserves a negative. In fact, I should just jot that down, but we'll get there when we get there, because I don't remember the name of the damn thing. A schism splits the royal retinue, and Noctis inadvertently pushes Prompto from atop a speeding freightliner. Seemingly betrayed by his best friend, Prompto suppresses feelings of sadness and trudges through the snow in search of answers. By the way, Kay, I'm sorry. I have been there before more than once, and I know what that's like. I hope you find a better job soon. I know it's the worm, I just don't know what it's called. I guess I could just call it the worm. I'm not going to comment on how Prompto, who has the least meat on his bones, should be doing terribly right now. Although in the interest of fairness, he's not quite human, but, you know, whatever. Oh yeah, spoilers.
It's freezing out here.
This is gameplay, by the way. I know that it doesn't quite look like it, but this is me. If I just hands off, nothing happens. Oh, absolutely, Cashel. Like, remember, the last thing Prompto had to deal with, just prior to this, was his friend telling him it's all his fault, and he's the cause of all his hurt. And it's not like Prompto is smart enough to pick up on that either. I'm pretty sure I've never felt anything this cold. I don't know the actual degrees of the coldest I've ever been. I remember the event distinctly, but I didn't have access to a thermometer, so I don't know how cold it was.
What a way to go.
Yeah, no kidding, Cash. True enough, Dakota. Imperial's above us! Raised in a common Lucian household, the often despondent Prompto enjoyed little familiarity with his adoptive parents. I can't read out loud that quickly, game!
My whole life, all I ever wanted was friends. But no one ever wanted me back.
That is not true, Prompto. I got your back.
I finally found people who did want me. I did everything I could to make them stay.
Apparently, JP.
I've lived my life in fear. That one day they'd find out who I really was, and they wouldn't want me anymore.
Once again, you'll notice Prompto's motivation is by far the most human out of all of this. And there we see what was happening from Prompto's perspective. By the way, notice the barcode. It's the first time it's really visible right there. Forgive me, but I really love how, of the motivation of basically every character in this game, the one that is the most down-to-earth and human is this guy's. He just wants to be part of a group. In this case, his adoptive family. That's all. That's his big thing. He just wants to be part of his friends.
It's gone. What is this place?
Research log here 722, day 189. I received a proposal regarding a way to improve the infantry's performance by leaps and bounds. Outfit the troopers with Magitech cores. Preliminary tests suggest sublimating demons for fuel will result in an unstable infantry unfit for the field. If the calculations he provided are correct, though, this could solve all our problems. The Deathless Project marks the advent of a new age. No longer will our soldiers fall on the field of battle. The Empire shall rise, and soon all the world shall bask in our glory.
So yeah, every FF has to have one evil scientist, right? Well, Verstale is the one for this one. Someone who is such a non-character, I wouldn't be surprised if you'd never even heard of him in the vanilla game. In fact, does he ever show up on camera in the vanilla game? Not counting this? I honestly don't remember. I feel like he shows up in like a cutscene. With the Emperor? Okay, I'll take your word on it. Because that was... Verstale is another one of those, responsible for a lot of things kind of characters here. We'll see more of that in episode Arden. Construction finished today on the first Magitech production facility. Rising military star and leading authority on Magitech Verstale Besithia has been selected to oversee the plant's operation. Reports say Besithia will relinquish his field duties in order to serve at the compound full-time. Now, this goes back to what I was mentioning earlier. Episode Gladiolus, Prompto, and Comrades all felt like they were trying to explain away issues with the vanilla story. So you notice how this is fleshing out both the Empire, the background of the military build-up, the Magitech thing, Verstale, and of course Prompto himself. So that's why this is going to take that kind of a tint, rather than trying to just abandon the story and write its new thing, like everything else does. Is there one up here? I actually don't remember. Nope. Okay, we're good. We're good. Onwards.
Scanning production code. Unit 05953234 confirmed. Warning. This unit has been compromised.
What's going on?
Initiating retrieval of compromised unit.
She still remembers you after all these years.
Huh? What gives?
We can't have you spilling blood here. Although to most, this compound is known only as the first Magitech production facility. Birthplace of the myriad Magitech troopers and demons the Empire holds dear. To you, this place should have some sentimental value. After all, it is your home, sweet home.
Shut up.
I'm not the one who almost killed you.
You're up!
You really ought to take a rest. Perhaps the estimable Chief Besithia will help heal that broken heart of yours.
Who the hell is that?
Oh, how quickly they forget. But fear not. I've no doubt a reunion would refresh your memory.
I mentioned the illusion thing.
I'm gonna find them. Wherever they are.
This is a good time to mention that I've always had the headcanon that one of Arden's main abilities is actually his illusionist abilities. That he is literally an illusionist in the traditional sense of the word. It helps to explain a lot of how he acts and how he showcases himself. His ability to just kind of appear and disappear, changing people's perspectives and appearances and voices. That's always been my presumption. Yeah, that's a good way to put that, Catbread writes. He's got Eisen's kind of thing going on. But that is headcanon, it's worth noting. Arden's actual abilities in the vanilla thing were supposed to be he's got the power of the kings, just like Noctis does. We'll see that later in the vanilla game. In the Dawn timeline, his abilities were supposed to be more necromantic, which we'll show off in episode Arden. So who was the guest composer for this one? I don't remember off the top of my head. Go and grab a quick save. Well, it depends on which timeline, Rihaku. In the vanilla timeline, it's never explained. In the Dawn timeline, he's tortured into compliance by Bahamut, and then left in a state of eternal suffering, where he's basically just in a state of tortured existence for about 2,000 years. That explains it, Rax. I was going to say it actually sounds familiar. And then he is eventually released by Verstale, actually, in the Dawn timeline, and then, you know, the Dawn timeline happens. I am a terrible shot, apparently.
Shoo!
I mean, I like 13.2's soundtrack, with one notable exception. But I do like this DLC's soundtrack as well.
Shit. Was he telling the truth about this place?
It's probably worth noting, I should mention something. I keep referring to the Dawn timeline as a separate timeline, and for good reason. But it's worth noting most of the events of the vanilla timeline and the Dawn timeline are pretty similar up until chapter 13, actually. Now, that being stated, up until there are behind-the-scenes changes. Like I just gave you one. What happens to Arden in vanilla versus what happens to Arden in Dawn are different behind the scene. But the Dawn timeline doesn't really completely diverge in a totally different way until chapter 13, at which point it just goes off and starts a whole new thing. The Dawn timeline, that's my terminology. It's the terminology for the alternate timeline that starts with episode Arden and then continues in episode Aranea, episode Lunafreya, and episode Noctis. It's also known as the second draft and the story that actually makes sense. Now, that is, of course, just my opinion, but I prefer the Dawn timeline, like, completely
Snatched.
to the vanilla one. It's worth noting that book isn't actually out yet, at least here in the States. It will come out in the States in October, I want to say? I don't remember when.
Log here 722, day 339. Another day, another mental breakdown. All my tests so far have resulted in the former soldiers suffering ego deaths. Today, however, I developed a new hypothesis. I will continue to sublimate demonified humans to harvest the miasma. But if a sense of self is the source of these snacks, why not inject infants with the plasmodia instead? We've little time. If we are to combat the Lucian threat, we must explore new options. I, too, will set aside my personal misgivings and do what I must for the Empire.
What kind of a maniac experiments on kids?
So, yeah, evil. I hate to say... I mean, Verstale does get a little more characterization here, but he is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And yes, that is correct, Strife. I feel like I just said that, though. Mostly it changes stuff under the hood for, you know, the retconning. To make it make more sense, you know?
Everything about this place gives me the creeps.
Hey, what's up?
Ready or not?
Oh no, I've been spotted.
Here I go!
Ah, it's okay, Strife. So suddenly we turn into a shooter. Which has a form of auto-aim on the console version. Because of course it does. But yeah, Lucius was basically the dominant nation on the planet until Arden came into the scene. In both timelines. Oh, hello. Now, I don't remember the camera wigging out every now and again on the console. Was that happening on the console too? Like what, Zero? Funnily enough, as I mentioned earlier, you can get just a gun in the vanilla game. It just doesn't work quite right, and it's also kind of overpowered. I feel like I did, because I played 13 after the changes. Chapter 13.
Snatched!
Target detected. Eliminate immediately. Commence elimination of compromised unit.
Let's also notice I have no cheats on right now. Actually, I think I might have infinite HP on, but I do not have damage cheats on. I'm only pointing that out to get across what Prompto is managing here.
I'm all out!
Nope, I do not even have HP cheats on. I have no cheats on at all.
Not good!
Now, I hope I just showed that off properly, but in case you missed that, the guns you steal from them are deliberately overpowered. The gun you have infinite of, the
I've just gotta find my way out.
the pea shooter, is pathetic in comparison. That's an interesting choice, especially since this gun has, you know, fairly limited. All of your 4 guns, the slot on the level 4 slot, which is this one on the right here, are overpowered as hell, but have very limited ammo. It's an interesting idea. I'm not sure if it deserves an additional positive, but I do like the concept. It's something I've always... It's the Mega Man thing, right? You have limited weapon energy for the weapons, and you have infinite, you know, lemon shooters. And you can literally get weapons from an enemy in combat, which I also like. You saw me do it. I got the guy and grabbed the assault rifle off of him. So in short, another DLC has some decent gameplay ideas.
So cold.
Switch to this for now. Now, there are 2 problems with this gameplay-wise, and Valvedrix is right to point that out. The first problem is, I mentioned I have no cheats on, because I don't need them for this one. This DLC is very easy, even if I was playing on normal, which I have done. The second problem is that this is a corridor fest. And I don't mean that in the typical, haha. No, I mean this is a corridor fest. Basically, terrain should probably matter to some extent or another, and it doesn't.
723, day 70. I pondered how I might find the necessary number of infants. Then it dawned on me, why not make them myself? If I clone them from my own genes, I can eliminate the pesky process of breeding them. Mass production remains a pipe dream for now, but I'm confident I can create a massive infantry once the process picks up. If everything goes according to plan, the Empire will boast a 1,000,000-man army in no time at all.
All this time, those things I've been fighting have been...
So in short, having thought about it, and with your guys' input, I don't think this deserves a gameplay plus. Like another gameplay plus. I like the variety, and I think it's a good idea, but I don't think they follow through properly. Execution, as ever, does matter. And that boss just sucks. We'll get there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show off the boss a little bit, just to really make my point, and then I'm just going to kill him in his face because screw him. Prototype numbering instructions, I can read. In order to better monitor the large number of matchstick models entering production, the Imperial Defense Council motions to reform the coding system as follows. Troopers will get a 5-digit number, and a model number, and then an 8-digit production code. Infants will get a 4-digit production year and an 8-digit production code.
We've all got the same barcodes.
Oh yes, and in case I didn't make it obvious enough, he has been going out of his way to hide that barcode since he was a child. That'll come up more obviously later.
Research log year 736, day 123. It seems my laboratory is not nearly as secure as I once believed. Some thief, likely a Lucian, made off with one of my experiments. Absconding with a single infant will do nothing to enlighten them of the grandeur of my research. That said, I will see to it such an incident never arises again. I've posted Magitech troopers around the facility and instructed them to keep a vigilant watch. It is their home, after all.
The kingdom kidnapped one of those infants? Does that... No, it couldn't be.
Nah. Don't worry, you're not a Sephiroth clone. I mean a Verstale clone. Hey, Who Girl. First of all, grats on succeeding on the test. I know I said that in chat, but I wanted to repeat that because, grats. QTEs, QTEs. Don't use them because they suck.
Target detected. Eliminate immediately.
So this is a very minor complaint. In order to aim, you have to hold down Shift on the PC instead of right-click. Right-click is cancel. Now, if you don't understand why that's irritating, you've never played any FPS ever. I just wanted to point that out really quick.
Commence elimination of compromised unit.
Not good!
You notice it does quad 9 damage, by the way. Because of course it does. How many shots do we have left? 2 shots. Yeah, I'm not going to waste those on these. We got the most of them. So, this is a good time to mention an issue here. Yeah, exactly, Rex. This is a good time to mention an issue here. Yet another issue with this DLC. I mean, I like the Prompto DLC, but it's almost entirely on the story side of things. So, if you just hold down shoot, you basically are hip firing. Now, in most of these kind of games, hip firing is obviously much less accurate. But the specific way they get that across is you actually have a percentage chance to hit. And it's entirely dependent on your range to them. So how distant you are basically rolls the dice each time you hip fire. Now you notice I hit 1 out of 3 of those, then that one hit, then that one hit. Okay, I'm hitting a lot now. I've shown this off already, so I hope I've made my point. If you manually shoot, then you actually do have control over it. Which I'll... Gotta get a selfie. You'll notice I'm mostly hip firing because when you are this close, you're basically guaranteed to hit. That's actually probably worth noting. Oh yeah, by the way, FF4 reference. The CPU thing. I was about to say, aren't I over there right now, game? As it's showing the people walking by me? You know what, actually, this is probably a good time for this. Oh, I switched weapons, alright, whatever. So yeah, DLC Prompto. A lot of good ideas, terrible execution. And of course, and I do agree with Takoida, the gun sounds here are not spectacular. And that is important when you're playing a shooter. I suppose I should show off grenades too, since we have those. We'll do that in the next section. Playing as Aranea would have been sweet, especially fighting a diamond weapon. That sounds kind of cool to me. Now let me also add something else here. I like this story arc, this character arc for Prompto. There are some holes in it, which we've already pointed out.
Lucky me.
The biggest problem with it for me is the fact that we've already seen this story arc.
What the hell am I?
Multiple times in the FF series. This is the I'm not human story arc, or oh god, what am I? Or I'm a monster, or I'm a clone, or I'm a robot. I mean, Terra had this character arc in FF6. Cloud had this character arc in FF7. Vivi had this character arc in FF9. That's the problem. It's a decent arc, and I do like Prompto as a character, but we've done this before. And to be blunt, I don't think this revelation adds anything to the character. I already liked Prompto quite a bit. This didn't change that, you know?
How could he do that? Who? What am I?
And then I draw Mazmune. Termination report. The following specimens have been eradicated. All 23 samples have been incinerated to avoid potential demonification of personnel.
Is somebody in there? Ugh. Deep breaths.
I don't know about you guys, I'd kind of love to find out I'm not human. It would make a lot of sense, let me tell you what. Just all of a sudden, oh! Like, that would be just a, of course, moment for me. Okay, you're secretly an alien.
My friend, Do you recall the child who was stolen from this facility?
The one those Lucians absconded with?
Precisely. I thought you might like to see the fine young man he's become these 20-odd years later. So as thanks for bringing your pets to Insomnia, I've brought the boy to you. The time has come to meet your maker. Any questions for Daddy dearest? Father and son. Oh, how I love bringing families together.
No! It's not true! You're wrong, damn it!
That's not true. That's impossible! Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Oh, sorry. Oh, hey, a Phoenix down.
This place will never be my home.
Okay.
Is in Lucis.
Research log year 756, day 98. Finally, my demon-infused Magitech armor is complete. I have christened my creation Diamond Weapon. It has exhibited an extremely unstable psyche, immediately unleashing unmitigated horrors upon activation. Its destructive capabilities, however, are indeed beyond compare. Not even the impenetrable Insomnia could withstand its onslaught. Why, the Crown City would fall in a mere matter of minutes. The Stone of Legend will soon be mine. To think that in less than a month's time, the crystal will be mine to play with as I please.
So he's the one behind the attack on Insomnia. He planned the whole thing. Everything we lost that day is gone because of him.
What's the matter? Have you never seen a man turn before? If those Lucians hadn't intervened, you could have turned too, because you were cloned from this genius's genes, born of my own flesh and blood. You are but one of millions, created to serve our great empire in the Magitech inventory.
To serve you?
Yes. And now you've finally come home to Niflheim, my son.
Shut up! You're wrong. I'm a Lucian! I am not one of your experiments!
Not anymore. Now, you're nothing but a failure. I ought to return you whence you came. Perhaps then you might serve some useful purpose.
Never!
With your help, my ascension to divinity is now all but complete.
Yes, that's Steve Blum, by the way.
Neither the kings of Lucis nor the gods themselves will be able to challenge my reign.
Look what you've done. You've gone homicidal. No, patricidal.
No.
You lose your friends and murder your family. Now you've no one left.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Vital functions decreasing. Plasmodium activity index increasing. Demonification complete. Initiating transfer to Unit XDA 1002 Immortalis.
You always play hard to get like this?
Aranea.
Save it, Blondie. On your feet. Oh, so this is that new model they're working on. I don't know what's got you so shook, but you can deal with it later. Let's move. I'm only gonna say this once. Lose your will to live and you lose all hope of me helping your sorry ass. Got it?
Target detected. Capture and retrieve immediately. Commence capture and retrieval of compromised unit.
Move it. They're down. Now's your chance.
Well, if you insist.
Head there. I'll catch up later.
But what about you?
I said I'll catch up.
But what
Just
if
go.
Supposedly this is when she goes off and fights Diamond Weapon, by the way. So, ready for the worst part of this game? This thing should have been awesome. Like, a good vehicle section is awesome. It's one of the reasons vehicle sections became so common in video games. Right? Like, a good vehicle section is like, yeah, it's great. And then there's this. I didn't actually mean to do that, so let's try that again. Yeah, like, it's hard to explain how bad these controls are, really. It's clear, this is another, I've talked about this concept before. This is a clear example of a game forcing its engine to do something it wasn't designed to do. This is racing in Warcraft 3. You know, you can, it's possible. I've played that map. But the game was clearly not designed with that in mind, and so it just feels, you know. What, you mean like X7, Zilog? You know, honestly, if I was to parallel this to anything, I would relate it to the driving in the vanilla game. Just driving the car on the boat. Because it feels almost identical. Do you mind? Apparently you don't mind. Wrong button. I may have to cheat here. Hang on, let's cheat real quick. Just real quick. There we go. We're good. So there's grenades.
Get back!
Yeah, exactly, Mr. Egypt. It really does feel like driving the Regalia, just with a slightly more responsive turn radius. That's it. Like, it even doesn't even acknowledge the Z-axis in the way it probably should. And you notice the terrain popping in, by the way? Like, the terrain might as well not even be here. Oh my god. That is me holding down right, by the way. Just nailing it. There we go. Yeah, I think I've made my point. Very exciting. Now, be honest. Do you think this deserves 1 negative or 2? The second negative is for the boss. The boss gets a negative by himself. Period. That's not up for debate.
Catch you later, Aranea.
Exactly. The idea is the first negative is for everything else. The corridor fest, the bad shooter controls, the bad gunplay, the disinteresting fight, the corridor fest, the awful snowmobile section.
Almost as good as what Iggy used to make. Oh. Well, at least it's quiet for a change. Damn it. What the hell am I thinking?
Don't tell me you thought that would work. Prompto, right? You could at least look happy to see me. I ran into your buddies in Tenebrae. You've got him worried sick. You gonna go see him or what?
I can't. I can't. I'm not like them. I was born here. In Niflheim. All this time. And I've never told them. And that's not even the worst part. I wasn't born into a happy family. I was made. Created in some laboratory. The entire reason I exist is to make Noct and all of them miserable. How could I possibly see them? They'd never accept the real me.
You spent all that time driving around together and you still don't know what kind of guys they really are.
As an aside, I would applaud this game and seriously debate the story negative I'm debating right now. If she just walked up and literally smacked him across the head, like, BAM! Huh?
In case you forgot, your princely pal and I weren't always on such friendly terms. But you know what? He put all that aside and asked me to make sure you were safe.
He did?
Think he'd do that for someone who makes him miserable?
Is everybody okay?
All things considered, I guess. Sounds like they've been through a lot since you left, but they're still dead set on getting to the capital.
Hope they make it.
They'd have a better shot with you around.
Did they say anything else about me?
Not that I can recall.
Right.
His Highness was so worried about you he could barely speak. But don't worry, I whipped him into shape.
So, he doesn't hate me after all.
Look, I can tell you want to get back together with him, so why not let them know?
You think they'd let me back? After all this? And even if they did let me back, I'd probably cause them nothing but trouble. I don't know how I could live with myself.
Ugh. Because you're doing such a great job of living with yourself. What do you want then? You worry so much about what other people want from you, you don't even know what you want anymore. Your life isn't yours to live. Forget about what everyone else thinks for a second and figure out what it is you're really after here. I'm going after that new model in the morning. You're on your own now, kid.
I mean, knowing you, Kay, if you did, that would be an issue. Oh, I want to upgrade the snowmobile. Yeah! Oh, I need stuff to do that. Dang. Ah, well. Why is that even an option? That seems so weird. Whatever. Moving on. Well, it helps that Aranea had actual effort and work put into her. Side quests are separate adventures that do not progress the story. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks, game. I've never heard of a side quest before. And you do it to get items to upgrade your snowmobile, which does nothing, by the way. Stomp. Oh, sorry. Sorry, hang on. Hang on, could you tell me about that again, Cashel? I missed it.
This'll be quick. Hey! It's faster via Ghost. Man, he is seriously hallucinating. He's been out in the cold too long.
Oh, welcome. Pay close attention. Hopefully you'll learn something.
Thank you, Cashel. Thank you very, very much. Much appreciate. And I have already put that towards Alundra.
Is that you continue to support Noctis, and that you remain ever at his side.
How does she expect someone like me to support him? Am I good enough? Does he want me around? Is that really what Noct and everyone else want? For me to be with them? Wait, but what about me? What do I want?
It took me a while, but I finally found my answer.
I want Aranea.
It's time.
Seriously hallucinating. I want Spider-Man! Now, we all know Sydney is Prompto's one true love. That's a good question, Rory.
Aranea,
What?
I'm ready. I thought about what you said, and I've decided to face my fears once and for all. I can't choose where I came from, but I can choose where I'm going.
All right, but slow me down and you're going to get left behind.
Having heard the sound from James Hogan's sub, Prompto has steeled his resolve. Thank you very much, James Hogan. Much obliged, as always. Thank you. If you happen to know where you want to put that, James Hogan, let me know. I could follow the road, but there's really no reason to. The snowmobile just doesn't physics. So...
All right. This is it. I'm going in.
Ah, gotcha, James Hogan. I try not to presume about those, because I have a lot of other things to keep track of. But thank you for the sub anyways.
Bring it on.
Kinda, Melkor. And just as irritating to control.
Time to take him out.
I mean, if you insist.
Incoming! Look out!
ready or not. All right.
Oh, easily, Myron. Easily. Although, I've never actually played Episode Arden. So we'll see what I think of it when we get there.
According to my intel, they're housing the new model here.
It's some kind of Magitech armor, right? What's so new about it?
This one's got a ghost in the machine. Chief Besithia himself. Managed to fuse his soul with the core.
Anyways.
This guy created destroyed Insomnia. If we don't take him out now, he's liable to destroy the whole world.
All I was saying, fair Dakota, was that no, it won't be a complete blind run on the Arden DLC. I'm well aware of what happens in that DLC. Attention, Research Chief Verstelia Besteja blah blah blah. It's come to my attention that the Glaceon's recent assault was quelled by your Magitech infantry. As commendation for your service to our great nation, I have approved your petition to increase funding for your research. Your work is a centrifugal force that will propel the Empire beyond our borders to greatness on the world stage. I eagerly await further reports of your progress. Sincerely, Evil McEvil. I've been assigned to Chief Bethesda's lab. Not many people can say they've worked under the supervision of a living legend. I mean, this is the guy who saved the Empire from eternal winter. He's practically our savior. And my boss pulled me aside today to issue me a special task. Said it's highly confidential, and I'm only the only one qualified for the job. But how? I barely even know my way around the compound. Well, whatever it is, I'll deal with it in the morning. Found out what my special task is, and frankly, I wish I hadn't. If only I could unsee the things I've seen today. I really ought to eat something before I go to bed, but wow, there's a cuss word. Totally killed my appetite. I had the honor of meeting His Imperial Majesty in person today. To think his radiance would travel all the way to the ice and snow just to observe our progress. If the Emperor is putting his faith in Magitech, then so should I. Just my luck. One of the plasmodium samples started leaking, and yours truly was the one blessed with the privilege to clean it up. And my boss had the nerve to yell at me, as if the whole thing were my fault. He wants to criticize the real culprit. He ought to look in a mirror. Sincerely, totally not evil.
What was that sound?
Our cue to go.
Listen, he was just following orders, okay?
Target detected. Eliminate immediately. Commence elimination of compromised unit.
Things are everywhere.
Oh no, guys, the attack node is attacking. Whatever shall I do? I mentioned how the gun thing was kind of a decent idea in, theory, but not in practice. Well, let me explain one of the reasons why I feel that way. So, oh no, I'm out of ammo. What do I do? Oh, hang on, wrong one. I don't actually want that one. There we go, and full up.
Go!
No, this is taking too long.
I can't take much more.
Quite a few, yes, Dakota. In fact, I honestly didn't think it would let me here. Yeah, I'll get a real gun.
Not good.
Okay. We're done.
Took you long enough.
Arania, with all due respect.
It must be close.
After several years of experimentation, we have finally succeeded in fusing mammal and magitech. Although we are still conducting various tests on the codename Barbarous, the unit should be functional enough to fend off would-be intruders in development until development finishes on Unit 1002 Immortalis. Because I don't know.
Let's go!
Oh no, I'm out of ammo. What do I do? Let me grab one of the infinite ammo things that are right here. What's funny is this isn't even the worst boss in this particular DLC, although this is bad. Hang on, gotta refill my ammo. There we go. Well, we've done about half his life and damage. Let's finish this off.
What's going on?
Unit XDA-1002, Immortalis. Plasmodic miasma transfer complete. No psychic obstructions detected. All systems operational. Activating Immortalis.
This is the just awful boss. Hey Rax, you remember the first time you fought this guy? Because I was actually watching when you did that.
It's gigantic. So that's the new model. And that means he must be inside that thing.
Hop on!
Whoa!
Hey look, they gave us a minigun on a snowmobile. I'm not even going to begin to dissect that. That's like the least of our problems here.
Ready for round 2?
You bet!
Guess we have to load the boss fight. Whoops.
That denied me the glory I rightly deserve. And now all shall tremble before me, man and breaker alike.
If that's really him...
That maniac's taken biological warfare to the next level.
Then I want to be the one to take him down.
Down below!
It's enormous!
Rise and shine, shortcake!
This is the whole boss fight, by the way. But there's one other aspect of it that I actually kind of want to show off. Oh yeah, by the way, he has substantially more health than normal difficulty.
Fall to your knees before me.
Yeah, did I mention this is a DPS check? Despite the fact that it literally is just holding down the button and aiming roughly towards the middle. So I'm actually going to stop shooting entirely. Now that can happen at any point in the fight, okay?
Let's do this.
No, you're seeing right. There's no mid-boss checkpoints. So,
It's gigantic.
massive HP bar, boring as hell, literally buggy, and no mid-mission checkpoints. Oh yeah, and also, while I'm on the subject, binary difficulty. This is garbage. This is one of the worst bosses I've seen in recent memory.
Ready for round 2?
You bet!
Long have I waited to smite the world that denied me the glory I rightly deserve. And now all shall tremble before me, man and breaker alike.
Huh.
If that's really...
So I just killed him.
That maniac's taken
I don't know if you caught that.
warfare to the next level.
Like, he has no HP bar anymore. He's dead. He died.
I want to be the one to take him down.
Down below!
Like, he's dead.
It's enormous!
Rise and shine, shortcake!
Well, that's an interesting outcome. I guess we're about to find out, JP. We may have to do this legit. Oh, haha, Dakota. So let's see what happens here, because this is where I deliberately failed last time. Huh. Well, I was going for catharsis. Wow.
Long have I waited to smite the world that denied me the glory I rightly deserve. And now all shall tremble before me, man and maker alike.
So how's your day going?
That's really him?
Yeah, I already said that. Alvatrix, and yeah, it's awful. You pretty much always need to be doing damage to him to beat the DPS check towards the end, which we haven't even reached yet.
Down below!
It's enormous!
Rise and shine, shortcake!
You know, the best part is I'd make a joke here about, like, pulling something up to read while I do this and just read it out loud. But that would mean I'd have to not pay attention to the fight. And that would mean I might miss, or not do enough damage on certain sections. I have no idea, Rax. No, no, no! Damn you, Myron. Damn you. I can't do anything, because I still have to keep shooting this jackass.
It ain't over.
Oh yeah, the best part is not only is this an awful boss in gameplay, remember, this is a Mega Super Death Ultra weapon produced by an empire that has multiple diamond weapons, in addition to airships and infinite Magitech troops. Oh, and also, while we're on the subject, a freaking Star Destroyer.
How can this be? I will not allow it.
Oh, they literally have a Star Destroyer. Okay, that's not even a joke. You'll see what I mean. Sure, a good thing we have literally infinite ammo on this turret, huh? I mean, picture that for a second, if we didn't have infinite ammo. It would be interesting to count how many Oh, is it done? Thank you, Myron. Thank you very, 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 very much, Myron. Thank you so much. As ever and as always. Even when I'm doing an awful and terrible boss fight. Much appreciate your support. Thank you, sir. Sorry, can't close my eyes while bowing. Got my eyes open, but I'm still bowing. Got one eye open. In case you're not catching this, by the way, each one of these him being blown up sections is a DPS check. Each one of these, we have to do enough damage in a period of time in order to break him from attacking us, because if he succeeds in attacking us, he kills us outright. And remember, binary difficulty. Now I can bow properly. Thank you, Myron. Now you say you want to put it towards one of the FFIDCs.
Yeah. This is what I wanted.
Then say it like you mean it. You did good, kid.
Couldn't have done it without you, girl. Seriously, though. Well, I better catch up with Noct and the guys. He's got a lot on his plate, and I figure he could probably use a hand, taking back the crystal and all that. And who knows, maybe I'll take it back before he does.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Honestly, I don't know for sure if they're going to accept me for who I really am. But I'll never know if I don't speak up. So I'm gonna tell them. After all, it's my life to live.
The boy has become a man. Anyway, Grolly is straight ahead.
Aranea!
Yeah?
Thanks.
You got it, Myron. I'll have to look, but I'll jot that down. So I was debating a story negative for this whole section. What do you guys think?
Ba-ba-ba-bum, bum, 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 ba-bum.
Basically for just Prompto losing it, and oh my god, I'm not human, and just, I don't know, the whole thing just kind of loses me. You know what I mean? I also, if I could be so bold, I feel that it's completely unnecessary for a character that, I want to stress my point again, I already liked. I was already down with Prompto. In fact, he was one of my favorite characters. He right up there with Ignis. He could totally slip out of those. Look at that. He has tons of room there. I mean, they showed you how he got incarcerated. Arden was there. And Arden can just do anything he wants. I don't know, guys. I'm kind of torn. It's in my opinion, it's failed. It's failing to fulfill on its potential, and it doesn't add to the character. And in fact, it actually detracts from the character. And all of that is before we get to the part that, you know, the whole "I'm not human" thing is a very done thing, even just in FF. Like they had the dominoes there for Prompto to have a crisis of self-confidence, right? And they didn't even touch that. It was instead just, oh no, you know, my friends. Also, I'm a freak. Oh, you're not my father. You know, just whatever. Yeah, we like with the Gladiolus thing and Core, we got more Aranea in this episode than we did Prompto. Actually, I did too, Kay. Oh yeah, so spoilers, we do find Prompto. And he barely ages in 10 years. Oh my god, he got... Prompto has learned facial hair. Would you like to lose an ability? Would you like to unlearn a skill? Prompto has forgotten crippling self-doubt. No, he's a caterpillar, Permeus. That's why he doesn't age.
Hey, I'm sorry. For what? For falling right into his trap? And for hurting you like that.
I know, right? How could you possibly do such a horrible thing? After everything we've been through.
Nah. It's okay. You're not the only one who fell for it.
once this is all over, I say we break down the borders. Come together as one nation.
Huh?
I mean, what does it matter where you're from, anyway?
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but you sounded like a real king for a second.
Better late than never. I'm gonna make this world a better place. You with me?
In the Dawn timeline, that's going to happen.
Ever at your side.
And only in the Dawn timeline. I plan to talk about how... Like, okay, don't mistake me. The ending of this game... Why do they have the gorilla? The ending of this game is actually pretty good. In the sense that it's, you know, horribly tragic and awful and all that fun stuff. But if you think about it, this is probably the only FF which, in the vanilla at least, timeline, ends with the villain winning. Completely. I'm not talking about Arden, by the way. Although he also wins, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, now we're going to pause for lunch.